Welcome to Goddess Out of Mars, the podcast where spirituality meets real life. Here we talk healing, mindset, and manifestation, and raising the next generation with purpose. So grab a drink, take a deep breath, and let's dive in. This is Goddess Out of Mars. Hey, hey, hey. How are y'all this easy Sunday? So glad to be back. I am feeling really good because the past Friday I did a glamour and self-love spill. Well, a love spill, and I included self-love in that. And I don't know if y'all been on TikTok recently, but that's all that's on my For You page. I'm not sure if it's me, but all I'll be seeing now is like glimmer, glimmer, glimmer. I'm not sure if it's, catching much attention or people are interested now. But I did one this past Friday and it went really, really good. And I feel really good. I did some goat milk, some essential oil, some honey, feeling like Cleopatra. And baby, my skin is feeling so soft. I'm being beautiful, but I feel more beautiful. But yeah, y'all have to DM me or, and tell me like what self-love rituals or love rituals that y'all have done or have been seeing. So on the previous episode and on my social medias, I've been asking people to send in their stories of them performing a love or bonding spell and it going wrong or having a happily ever after. And I've had a couple of submissions and diving in, that is what we're going to be talking about today. Today's story comes from someone, we'll call her Maya. And Maya's story is a love spell that turned out, unfortunately for her, completely traumatic in every which way. So you see, when Maya was younger, she got a spell from her grandmother where she wrote a letter to the universe. And the love letter was about 2 to 3 pages long. And at the time she was really young. So she just wrote it to the universe or whoever. It wasn't a specific deity or god or goddess. So she wrote this 2 to 3 page love letter detailing the perfect guy for her, what he'll look like, how the relationship was gonna be, who he was, his personality. And she knew that she wanted a blue-eyed guy with blonde hair and a strawberry beard who was tall and swept her off her feet and worshiped the ground she walked on and filled every sexual desire that she had. So she took that letter, and after having a full cycle, menstrual cycle, she blessed the candles and the letter with that and with some love herbs, set it on fire in a pit in her backyard. And Maya Slow, she went on about her life, setting intentions and just sending it to the universe and essentially not giving it much thought after. She continued to go about her life and go to work. And months after, she's not thinking about it, but she did have a guy friend that was very persistent in her meeting his friend. And for 3 months, he would always try to, put her on him. And at the time, she was not looking for anything like that. She already had her man that she was with all the time. And in her words, the guy that her friend was trying to hook her up with was kind of bummy and older, and she wasn't looking for that. But after a while months passed by and she was single, so she was like, what the heck? I'll go ahead and give this guy a chance. So they planned to meet up at a bar she was working at. And she said that she remembers this like it was yesterday. As she was walking the bar, she remembered him walking in. And it was like time had slowed down and he was everything that she could imagine. Blonde hair, blue eyes. And in her words, she described him as a handsome white devil. Y'all, she was smitten. And they hit it off pretty good. Excellent, actually. He was romantic. He was good to her. He swept her off her feet and he worshiped the ground that she walked on. It was essentially everything that she ever wanted. And it hit her like, this is the guy that I manifested. But as time went on, they dated for years. And the guy became very, very abusive, monitoring her phone, and eventually she couldn't even have a phone. All phone calls and text messages had to be through him. She could not talk to family and friends, and she was essentially isolated. And things continued to get worse where he was very physically abusive to her, to one point breaking her arm. And you know the cliche answers, well, why shouldn't she just leave? The guy was stalkerish, stalked her, isolated her, and so abusive to the point that she was very afraid of Lee. She made attempts, but he was very dangerous. And being the conjuring girl that she is, she did plenty of workings to get him away from her safely. And along the way, she even had to learn that certain herbs that she couldn't even use because it made him very irritable and even meaner and more abusive. She reached out to her other witchy friends and even talked to his ancestors. When she was dating him, he used to always take her to his grandparents' grave site. And when things got abusive, unbeknownst to him, thinking that they were just having a day out at his grandparents' headstone, she was petitioning them, leaving flowers and offerings to help him just get away from her safely and without harm to none. And eventually, he was gone, but not without some terrible, terrible trail that he left. Like I said, he was physically and emotional abusive and controlling. So her confidence was down. Her face was beaten up throughout some of the relationship, and her arm were broken. And then most of hurtful of all, she lost her children. He, in the process of the relationship, he ended up hurting one of her children very badly, and them having to be removed. And she is so hurt and very remorseful about that. But today, thankfully, Maya is doing a 100% better. She's living life to the fullest. Her children are safe and fine, and she has a wonderful relationship with them. And that guy is completely out of her life with a restraining order. And this is one of those things where, and I've told her this, that even with love, money, success, healing spells, and a petition that you do, you have to choose your words very carefully, because sometimes the universe has a very, very sick sense of humor. And then on top of that, some people say, well, you shouldn't control someone's will. Remember, going back to the start of the story, she didn't petition any single person. She did a general love spell listing out the qualities of a man that she liked. She got everything she wanted. He was doting and worshiped the ground she walked on. But unfortunately for her, she got the flip side negative side of that. And I'm sure that this will go out to some of you, but I am completely very thankful of Maya for sharing her story. And it goes out to anyone not to be judgmental, because even without conjuring work or spells, this can still happen to anyone being in a abusive relationship, and love turning into hurt. The person that you once loved and was doting on you becoming someone that you fear. And being completely transparent, even I've not in that exact same way, done a petition with a letter outlining my ideal partner. Myself with writing that. Walking, I do find myself walking a very thin line with being confident, but also careful with the words that I choose without being doubtful or scared. And with that, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that this story resonated with you. Gave you some precautions and just, keeping you informed. Like with any working, let's be careful and protection working. If you like this episode and have a story that you wanted to share, of a love spell or binding spell with a partner or yourself, or a love and binding spell that was cast on you that went completely awry or ended up in a happily ever after. I love to hear from you. You could DM me on social medias on Instagram and Facebook or TikTok. Email me or dial in the dialing number. I have the number in a posting on my Instagram. And remember, you can do this anonymously or, just sharing. Until next time, thank you. Thank you for being here. If you like today's episode, share it and tag it with us at Goddess Ida Mars. Don't forget to leave a review and hit the follow button so you don't miss anything. I'll see you later.